For your kind words. Simca Kinsale, it's great to be here on the unceded territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And it's great to be here to talk about making life better for British Columbians by not talking about partisan advantage, not talking about how we can outdo someone else, but how we can work together for a better British Columbia, not just today, but election after election after election, where at the end of those elections, we vote for the people that we want, we vote with hope, we vote for a better British Columbia, not fear of something terrible happening, but hope that something good will happen. That's why you're here today. That's why I'm so grateful that we're going to go out onto the streets of Vancouver and get every single vote into the mailbox. Are we going to do it? It's the 16-month anniversary of our swearing in as a new government. Happy anniversary, everybody. In 16 months, we've been able to do an awful lot working together. For example, Andrew spoke about student housing in British Columbia. Over 16 years, the former group managed to build 8 units a year. 130 over 16 years. We have committed together 1,100 units already, with many, many more to come, that will relieve pressure in urban centers and provide students with what I used to think was a pretty good life on campus. Of course, you're focused on your grades, you're focused on the work, and the weekends. But it's not just in the area of social housing. I just left Selena Robinson at the Nonprofit Housing Association annual meeting here in Vancouver. 1,500 providers of housing for people from every corner of the province. And there had never been a premier attend a conference. And I went as an opposition member with my friend David Eby. I don't see a very long person here. Is David? David was the housing spokesperson for us at the time.
He's not allowed.
Oh, he's not allowed to be there. That's an inside joke. I can't tell you about that. He'd have to recuse himself, if I can use that word. I know that apparently Donald Trump's not happy with this Attorney General, but I'm really, really happy with that. They 1,500 providers from every corner of the province. The Premier had never been there before. And what was most staggering about looking at what we've been able to accomplish working with the Green Caucus, working together for better outcomes for people in a minority that was only supposed to last a couple of weeks. You remember that 16 months ago? Well, we're looking pretty good today, and I think we're going to be looking even better on November 30th when we count all the ballots, and we are going to go into a future where everyone else in the world has already been. Progressive governments around the world use proportional representation because it gives people something to vote for, not something to vote against. During the last election, and that we touched upon, the rockiness of our adversarial system, our British parliamentary system, lends itself to that conflict and that tension. But once the votes are cast, and once the votes are counted, the opportunity to come together is there for those who choose to grab it. And I am so grateful that Andrew and my colleagues and his colleagues were able to come together and put in place a government that reflects the majority of votes cast in the last election. Only twice has that happened in BC history. Oops, I'm too close to the microphone. Only twice has that happened in BC history. And if we are successful, with your help, it will happen every time we have an election. What better outcome can we give our children and our grandchildren and their children than an electoral system that allows them to have a government that reflects the diversity of views in our community every single time, not just once every 150 years. Wouldn't that be something? Center of everything that we did. The next step that we have to take is to ensure that every vote counts. Andrew talked about how it is in many constituencies where you always get a Liberal, you always get a New Democrat, you always get the same thing. That discourages participation, particularly from young people. I got a couple of millennials at home, and I know there's a couple here today. Cynthia tells me that Pro-Rep is lit. And, I know everyone in this room is woke, and that's why we're here today. But young people are more inclined to participate if they know their vote will matter. If they live in a constituency that always votes left, or always votes right, or always votes conservative, they're going to stay home because they won't see their values reflected at the end of the day. Proportional representation makes a simple proposition. 40% of the votes will equal 40% of the seats. It's as simple as that. It's not like we've just seen in Ontario, where 40% of the votes led to 100% of the power. Or in Quebec, just months ago, 37% of the vote leads to 100% of the power. And in New Brunswick, the most odd of oddities, 38% of the vote led to fewer seats than the party that had 32% of the vote. So if you need an argument on the doorstep today, just say New Brunswick and try and explain to people how first past the post is democratic when the majority of votes, even in a bizarre first past the post system, does not lead to a good outcome for the people who voted on that day. Every vote counts. That's what Pro-Rep's all about, and I'm so grateful that you're here today to go out onto the streets and make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for those who will come after us. We've been able to accomplish a great deal by working together, but more than anything, I believe we've sent a signal to British Columbians that better things can happen when we work together. The divisions between Andrew and I, my colleagues and his